wanted to bring it home now, and I want to go around the room and use that our title today and ask for some solutions since we threw it out there. So Rhonda, I'm going to start with you, ladies first.
Oh, well, thank you.
How do we embrace the discarded?
We need more support. We need more resources. As a matter of fact, my question for Pari is, how quick can you get to Ohio? That that is something that would be very helpful. What you've described, the structure that you've developed, the additional resources, looking at not only the patient's needs, but the spouse needs, the extended family needs. You've really brought a holistic approach to this issue. And I think you're going to be a very busy fellow is what I think. So that's truly my question is, I know you're in Florida now. Are there plans to extend this into other areas, other states? I'm sure there are probably state to state regulations and legislations and those kinds of things that may be somewhat, maybe not barriers, but some hurdles to go through. So I'm just curious. You've obviously struck a very important chord here. Where are you going next?
Yeah, the next is Missouri.
Missouri.
We opened a company. I opened a company there. We registered it. I have a friend, psychiatrist, who will be leading the operation. So next is Missouri. Ohio is near and dear to my heart because I trained in Case Western Reserve University.
I remember.
So that is on my list. But I'm talking to some big corporates who already have presence in some of the states. And if through them we can get our feet in, that would be faster. Because to start somewhere, we need at least some base where we can start some providers and then build up from there. So I'm talking to some other corporates who have nursing homes in other states. So those things are happening. But as in the balance, I have to keep balancing my life also. So I'm going to take a pace with which I can manage everything, maintain the quality of the standard, and without stretching myself too thin. So it's all about developing a system where we can replicate it without causing too much burden on my centralized team.
Yeah,
so
that's probably going to be your biggest challenge, because your model is great, makes sense, but you're the rate limiting step until you have the ability to delegate to others who can help carry the burden.
Yeah, the most rate limiting step is factor is there are only 24 hours in a day.
Yes, exactly. You want something done, you find the busiest person in the room. That's how it rolls. That. Randy, let me ask you that. How would you embrace the discarded?
Yes, that one's a really tough one for me. And I think I'm going to have to say, looking at the world through my ancient eyes, the important thing is to have some patience. We didn't get here overnight. What I think we're seeing and what I think has led to this conversation is a substantial cultural shift within our country that began sometime. I don't know, but what I'm getting at is that I grew up in a world, Rick grew up in a world where it was relatively rare for both parents. Well, first of all, we grew up in a world where most families had two parents in the home. The second thing is it was relatively rare for both of those parents to be employed. Mm-hmm. And so now we live in a world where in the majority of two-parent families, both of those parents will be employed, and they expect someone else to educate and imbue a sense of moral sensitivity into their children. And there is a loss of the duty to care for one another. So our culture as it stands right now is simply not supportive of the very things that we've been talking about. Now, the fix for that is to turn it around. And I'm not completely hopeless that can happen. I doubt that I will live to see it. But unless we recapture that notion that we're here to take care of each other, it's difficult for me to see any significant improvement. And as I say, I witnessed that long time ago. One of my favorite family stories is in the 1918 flu pandemic. My grandfather went and lived with a married couple. One was his cousin, and the other one was obviously a cousin by marriage. They were the parents. The cousins were the parents of several children, and they both came down with the flu and ultimately died. And knowing that he was putting himself at great risk, he went and lived with them until those parents were dead and buried. He talked with his other extended family, and they found a way to take those children in and see that they were raised properly. You don't see that anymore in this country, at least amongst the children that we raised. We don't see that kind of sense of responsibility.
Great.
So I hope we'll see a cultural shift. I mean, this is reflected in practically everything around us, the ridiculously polarized politics and all the things that go with it are based on an absolute lack of understanding that the person that you're looking at has a heart and a soul and a right to be listened to and heard.
Amen,
So,
brother. Amen.
I wish I had a brighter note, but that's all I got.
Well, we're not done with this discussion, so Dr. Z, chime in, please.
Just a few reflections on that. I think there are still good things happening. The movement is happening. So first of all, meeting the resources, as I said, the providers, that mid-level providers, the good thing is there are more and more programs are opening up for the psychiatry certification. So actually good news is that more providers are coming to psychiatry, and it is becoming easier and easier for us to hire and create the work power to meet the need. So that's going to happen. We will have more mid-level providers in future going, and the psychiatrists are also joining now. So that will help with meeting the need that is growing up. But as very important topic that was brought is the cultural shift, the fundamental shift. That's very difficult to bring, but we are working on that also. So the Heartfulness organization that teaches meditation free of charge is all about meditating on the heart. And what heart does, the qualities like helping each other, generosity, kindness, compassion, love, all that is a seating in the heart. So those qualities grow, and when those qualities grow, the real human nature of supporting each other and keeping the humanity above other goals, that will prevail. It's a matter of getting the movement going. We have 10,000 volunteer trainers throughout the world who are teaching this, and so to enhance the basic human heart qualities will bring the cultural shift. But I don't know in what time, but the efforts are going on.
My hope is that in another half century, more people will die at home rather than in nursing homes.
Yeah.
And with the help of the professionals like those that you lead.
Yes.
Great point, Randy. It's all about dignity ultimately too. Rick, Dr. Z, how would you embrace the discarded? What's your formula or plan?
Well, I enjoyed hearing Randy's dissertation there, because and I don't mean that in a negative way. I mean, I hope with the hair color that I've tried to develop more as I like to say, Ari, I would say, patience leads to patience. So the more patient you are, the more patience you'll have, which sounds like you're the man for that job. But I feel like, in the answer to what you said, Randy, that I think there has to be, and it seems like there is, but that'll take, you and I won't be here for sure, but it takes the American population or North American, European, whatever you want to say it, are going to have to be able to embrace the cultural spirit of places like where he grew up in India, Asia, where there's a different mindset culturally about the family and how you deal with your siblings and everything else. We all like to liken back to, well, the 1950s were wonderful with, Desi Arnaz and the Honeymooners and all those people. And it probably wasn't all as great as that for our parents. You had Vietnam, you had the threat of a nuclear war and bomb shelters in our basements and stuff like that. So, but I want to take the positive light and think that it's up to each and every person and their relationships with their family members. And I do think I want people to get away from social media, the news, go back and look at the birds, get outdoors, take up music, take up the arts, do things that are outside your realm as best you can to get some balance. What's happened is the world moves so fast. I don't even know how you practice medicine now, because the diagnosis and the treatments change between the time we finish this discussion and tomorrow morning. Mm-hmm. So anyways, I try to take a positive look like that, and gentlemen like this make it give me heart that it'll change with time. It just,
well stated. Yeah. Dr. Waxman, you're next. How do you embrace the discarded?
Yeah, I think my interest is not discarding them in the first place. Yeah. I think that's kind of where we're going with the general discussion. And I think it's sort of similar to what's already been said, is it's a culture shift, it's a culture change, it's a return to embracing the values. I think one of the silver linings of the pandemic has made a lot of people realize how important family is, and there's been more multi-generational households as a result of the pandemic. I think people have seen the value in that, and I hope that it's some sense of that remains. But what really came up when you asked the question, Des, was my father-in-law, who has since passed away, was actually a nursing home administrator for many years, and he designed in Memphis, Tennessee, kind of a state-of-the-art nursing home for the time. This is about 25 years ago. And the thing I most remember about it was they had an on-site daycare for the employees. It was, number one, was pretty awesome, so that
That's
people
so ahead of its time.
It was way ahead of its time. But the real cool thing was the higher functioning residents would watch the kids. I mean, they weren't employees, but they would take the kids around in this cart so that the residents could interact with the kids. And so it speaks to what Pari mentioned about that third part of our well-being and our balance, which is about purpose. And so giving people a purpose, and these people were like, well, my purpose is to watch this kid and make sure that they don't harm themselves and go over the balcony. I mean, it was really cool to watch these residents.
That's phenomenal.
That's a cool idea.
So I think, what other opportunities do we have to create purpose for people, for ourselves as we age, and for others as well? And I'm a baby boomer. Baby boomers are not going down easy. I think they're gonna fight to be recognized. They really are. I mean, I'm in a over 55 active community. Everybody here is very active, and nobody's going down easy. Nobody's sitting around, I'll tell you that. So I think that also gives me some hope that this generation is like, we were a pretty large population dense generation, and spoke pretty loudly in a lot of different ways. And I think we're going to continue to speak loudly and say, you know, you need to pay attention to us. So those are some of my hopes for it.
Those are great points. And Pari will probably even attest to this. There's been some crazy stuff going on down at the villages over the years. We're not going to go there right now. So Pari, with that, you know, beyond what you've created with your business model with Balanced Wellbeing, how do you personally, like if somebody said, okay, Pari, how do you embrace the discarded? What would you say?
Sure. Let me just quickly reflect on the thought about purpose, because there was actually a research in a nursing home where there was a group that was given a plant in their room, and they were told that don't worry about this plant, we're going to take care of it. Okay. And then the second group was given a plant in their room, and they were told, you have to take care of this plant, we are not going to take care of it. And when they looked at the two groups, the group which was taking care of the plant had better survivability and better outcomes than that was not. Actually, both groups have plant in their room. It's just having the responsibility and giving them a purpose of taking care of the plant. Such a small purpose, but still, it made a difference in the outcome. Now, if we give them more and more purpose to their life, and spirituality is one thing that gives a purpose to everyone's life, that's one aspect, but that purpose is powerful because it makes their life meaningful, it makes their day meaningful, and they look forward to something, and that brings so much wellness. So thank you for bringing that up. I do feel that we have, as a society, we have grown a lot in our material prosperity. What we were in 100 years ago and where we are now, there's so much difference in terms of luxury and amenities and everything. But if we look at our internal, emotional, and our spiritual well-being, if we compare it to 100 years from now, I don't think there has been much big difference there. So there's definitely a disconnect here. As a human species, we are evolving and evolving on our material realm, but we are not evolving and evolving on our spiritual realm. It's, as a human species, we are kind of at the same plane, and that's where I think the future is. When we bring that up also, then we're going to match this balance, and then everything will be even more perfect. But to answer the question, how to embrace the discarded, I think the short-term solution is to provide the resources to these facilities and to the nursing homes where there are ALF, to make the access to the care easy using the technology, the telepsychiatry, the telehealth, developing the models that will ensure the quality of the care. That's the short-term answer. The long-term answer is prevention, how to not end up in nursing home, how to create a culture where everybody is staying home. In India, we don't have nursing homes, everybody stays home, but then there are some bad outcome also, that sometimes when they don't have enough support, then the elderly suffer at home. So that there is some negative side to that also. At least here there is a nursing home they can go to and get taken care of, and their life dignity and life is preserved. Whereas there, if their family is very poor and there's no family, then that's a difficult situation. But both sides have their positives and negatives. So the long-term solution would be is to develop a culture and society where wellness is emphasized, and that we don't end up putting more resources into the cure and the treatment. We're putting more resources into promoting the wellness and prevention aspect.